What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with me, Suddy, and this is Shyam previewing the Euro 2020 final between Italy and, who would have guessed it, England. Well, I guessed it. Actually, I guessed both teams.
Have England made the final?
There they they've built a house they've built a house and it's coming home. So obviously Italy beating Spain in the final, in the semi-final, excuse me, and England going past a very resilient, potentially unjust way with a few kind of query decisions to get to the final. But here we have it, man. It's a classic England-Italy final. I mean, there's lots to say. We'll start off with, I guess, the route to get here through the semi-final. What did you think of England, Denmark? You know, we kind of briefly.
I think on balance, England did deserve to go through. The circumstances around the goal were pretty awful. There was three things that had happened with the goal. The first one was, for some reason, the ball came on the pitch and he stopped the game when that happens. The second one was, I do think that Sterling dived. He probably better to say he played for the foul. It's probably a better way of putting it. 10 years ago, that penalty wouldn't have been given. But the way that things have gone, particularly with VAR, you make contact at the penalty. It's a shame with a lot of modern sport that happens now. Like if you look at basketball and the NBA, handshaking is not there anymore. So it doesn't allow for defense. So it means that the game changes when you lose the ability to defend the way that you normally would. And thirdly, the penalty with the laser pointer in Schmeichel's eye, that was pretty poor. Whoever did that, if they find them, give them a lifetime ban. That was poor. But on the balance of the game, England did deserve to go through. Schmeichel made about 9 saves, I think it was. He was massive. He was man of the match. I think it's the most saves ever by a Danish goalkeeper in the Euros. So that's as a stat for you there. But I
probably held the other record.
Dominated the game. I think that they did well with the subs. They're using the 5 subs really well, and just that ability with the flexibility and the fact that sort of those attacking plays, your Grealish's, your Foden's, your Sancho's, the flexibility to bring more of them on than he otherwise would. I think England are using that quite well. So no complaints. Probably special mention to Rice and Phillips. I think Denmark ran out of legs a bit. And when you got Phillips with his energy and Rice with his poise, I think that they took over the midfield. And it wasn't something that I was really expecting, but they both played pretty well in that game as well.
Yeah. We'll move over to Italy. I think everyone thought it was a much more tense game with the Italians. It was a punch for punch, counter punching nonstop, great saves, great defending. The 2 Titans at the back, you can't see him retiring anytime soon, but there's a bit of mind games going with Chiellini just before the penalties with Alba.
I love that. I love that. And you knew that Italy was going to win at that point because Alba looked nervous and Chiellini was like, he was playing 2 sides.
Actually, I don't think he looked nervous. He looked annoyed. He's like, just get off me. It was kind of like he looked annoyed. He's like, let's get this on. And you could take Chiellini. And just to kind of preview this final, Chiellini and Bonucci both come out and said, Chiellini said, oh, they've had 6 of their 7 games at home. I mean, Italy have had 5 of their 7 games. So it's only one more. And Bonucci said something like, it's old men versus the young boys. It's all the mind games are kind of starting. It's kind of nice, but they are who they are, and I think they're going to be immense for them going to the game. So you were saying Rice and Phillips. I think they're going to start. People have been talking about Henderson starting. I don't think Henderson will start this game just purely because the chemistry is there. He could make a run for the World Cup, which fully well could start. But do you think these 2 boys will start, and how key would they be?
Yeah, I think Southgate he's very reluctant to change what works, and that is working. And I think the idea for him to have Henderson and Grealish on the bench, I think that he likes having, like I said, the way he's been using his subs has been very good. I think he's going to really like having that option there. The interesting thing for me will be, who do England play on the right wing? I think that there's a massive weakness there with Emerson, the fullback. Not that he's a bad player. He's just not. He's just not at the level that I forget how to pronounce the surname of that player. The guy started. Yeah. He's not at that level, and I think that England will smell a weakness there, particularly with the goalkeeper and the 2 centre backs being absolutely world class. I think Italy had that potential weakness down that side. I think it affects them probably attacking more than defensive, but I think Emerson can be found out defensively. So I do expect England to try and attack that position. So whether they go with Saka or Sancho will be a big call in this game. I'd like to see Sancho play. I think he's got a bit more variety in what he does. Saka does certain things very well. I wouldn't, but to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if Foden started. I think that I think that he's potentially someone who could start, but I would like to see Sancho start. But like I said, it might just be Saka because Southgate doesn't like changing what works.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you can pick 9 of the 11 players there. I think the only kind of questions there would be the number 10 and the right wing spot. Who would you like for number 10? Do you think Mason Mount comes back in after his performance, or do you think they got to kind of go back to Foden, or would Grealish take the spot? Maybe not Grealish, because I think he's very much he is what he is for Southgate's team. Who would you pick at number 10?
I think Mount is the safest option, and Southgate's gone with the safest option. Mount's also comfortable playing in a 2-man midfield if he has to. He's done that with Chelsea at times, and I think that ability for him, he's more of an all-rounder than a Grealish, who's more of a pure 10. And I think that, again, safest option is probably the way that they will go. So I would like to see Mount. I think Mount's earned it as well. So if you had, say you had Saka, Sterling, Mount in that 3, you've then got Rashford, Grealish, Sancho, Foden. That's a pretty awesome. Well, and Calvert-Lewin probably won't play, but you've got those options in terms of variety, and I think that's the way England will probably go.
We'll go to Italy. Italy, they have Spinazzola out. Obviously, he snapped his Achilles, but the main story here would be Chiesa, who's also a bit doubtful. He's likely not to start after coming off versus Spain. The problem with Italy now, I think Italy's main problem would be when you face a side like England, those set pieces that they seem to kind of have clicked together a bit more. Maguire's kind of getting at the end of a lot of these set pieces. He scored one. How important would you see Chiellini, Bonucci? Do you think they're going to be up for it pace wise? Because this is a different type of pace. It's six players at pace coming at you, and it's not just the pace of running at you; it's the press as well. Phillips, Rice, Mason Mount is very much like a Bruno Fernandes. He's a number 10 who's pressing all the time. Bonucci and Chiellini up for it, and Donnarumma for that matter.
Yeah, I think they're the ones I'm comfortable with. I think they'll be a bit more comfortable with Kane as well. Kane's not the quickest. It's more the players around Kane that will provide that pace and thrust. I think that their strength is going to be that Donnarumma, Chiellini, Bonucci axis. I think they will need last 2 games. They started brightly and then had to lean on that. And I think the experience of those guys, the oldest England player is Kyle Walker, and he's like 32. And there's not anyone who's really above. I think Trippier's 30, and the rest are all under 30.
And they're both lightning quick.
Yeah, and I think that what will happen is, I think that their brains will get them through. I think their football IQ. It's more the positions around them that I'm worried about. They've lost emphasis on the left. Chiesa missing on the right. I think it takes a lot away from their attacking thrust. So you can probably see. I think Italy's going to really. They'll probably try and start brightly and push England back, but I think as the game goes on, you're going to see these waves of England attacks sort of crashing on the Italian.
I was just going to ask you that. I was just going to ask you that.
Italy. I think Italy will find something to counter with, but it's going to be quite counter dependent.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Do you think it's within good tactics to sit back on as the Italy defense, not allowing them to get behind you to kind of sit, let's call it park the bus, call it a low block, whatever you want to call it. Do you think that's a better way to go against this England side?
Yeah, I don't see another way for them to win. I actually think the way to take on England is have a go at their defense. I think their defense is kind of, or at least the space in front of the defense. That sort of Phillips and Rice have played well, but they're probably the weak spot. It shows how strong the England team is that those two are the weak spot, because they've only conceded 1 goal whole tournament, and that's a free kick. So I think the way to beat England is that, but I don't think Italy have the weapons for that. So it's going to really be try and get England to overcommit and then counter. And counter with punch, which Italians, I mean, historically, Italians have always been very good at that. And given that, again, that apart from the centre backs, the midfield's actually, it's not a wonderful all-time midfield, but it's a good midfield. And I think in the centre positions, they can hold England. It's more out wide that England's going to find a bit more joy. So England will have to decide, do they want the wide players to sort of run in, or do they want to keep a bit of width? Luke Shaw coming down the left, I think, will be big. How they create width on the right, I think, will be important as well.
Okay, so the last question I have for you is, I was thinking about this for the last few days. What do you think from a, I guess, philosophical, from a kind of larger point of view, what do you think this means if the unthinkable happens and England does win it? What does it mean for the English football? What does it mean for the Premier League? What does it mean for these players? For Southgate? I mean, there is a little bit of part of me that is curious to see. I've never seen England reach a semi-final. They've reached 2 in the last tournaments. Yeah, what does it mean?
It's pretty crazy. Both of these countries have underperformed at Euros. Italy's won 4 World Cups, but they've only won 1 Euros, and that was in 1968. So they've not won for a long time. This is the second major tournament final that England are playing. Funnily enough, both are at Wembley, and England have played a lot of their games at home. England have always been a team, in the time that I've known them, they're flattered to deceive. There's always been a lot of money in the domestic leagues. People don't realize how big football is in England. I've told you this fact before, but if you look at the 4 highest attended leagues in the world, you got the Bundesliga, the Premier League, the Spanish League, and then the English second division. That's how big football is in England. The culture around it is absolutely amazing. But it's always been about that strength and depth. And it's not really been about, like you've seen the last few seasons in the UEFA Cup, it's always the English teams that miss out on the Champions League that tend to make the final. It's not really been about the teams sort of rising. And then this season, you've had an all-English final in the Champions League. English football, they've got the good managers in. They've worked on getting the players together, as opposed to that sort of golden generation where they all sort of they were very heterogeneous and kept in their own club groups. There has been a rising of euphoria in England around getting the structures right, the players coming together. And when I say structures, like youth structures, getting the players right, and all of these things that seem to be crescendoing towards this moment. Do I think that more money will come into the English game because of it? God, I hope not, because all the money seems to be going to England. But that probably proves it as well, that it's the only big domestic league at the moment where there's really more than one possible winner. You see, I know that Juventus and PSG didn't win the league this season, but they've won like the last 7, the last 9,
10.
Yeah, Barcelona and Real Madrid are in massive trouble. Bayern Munich's just dominating in Bundesliga and signing the best players from the other teams that are rivaling them.
Yeah,
and managers. England has had this crescendoing of building up strength and that sort of thing that might crescendo into this type of win. Funnily enough, it could suit the Italians because there's going to be a massive expectation on England to win, and anything other than winning will be seen as failure. So the longer that Italy can keep themselves in the game, I think that it gives them more of a chance. Whereas Italy, they're all laughing and joking. Like you talked about Chiellini at the shootout. When they didn't make the World Cup and Mancini came in, he said, "We're going to win the Euros," and all the players laughed at him. And they're like,
"Is that right?"
Yeah. Mancini said, "We're going to win the Euros 2 years from now," and he's wrong. It's 3 years. But apart from that, yeah, it's England has always flattered.
Sorry to interrupt.
As much as England internationally, like France has 2 World Cups, Spain has 3 major tournaments, Germany, Italy, they've been the big teams in Europe. Even teams like Holland, they're not achieved as much as Holland. Even the teams like Portugal, they're not achieved as much as Portugal internationally. So this could be that game that elevates England up to where they think that they belong. And given that a lot of these players are very young, it could be something that turns, they generates an era of success for England. So it's a big moment for English football.
Well, I think the biggest thing comes down to this team is, I was kind of thinking about the evolution of the current modern England team the last 20 years or so. And I think part of the reason that a lot of these teams, you're absolutely right, was because they, especially United players and the Chelsea players, very much split that team apart with the Terrys and all that. But I think this team, I mean, just looking at the squad here, the likely starting 11, there's Man City, United, West Ham, Leeds, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, Sterling been to Liverpool and Liverpool and Man City as well. Yeah. Very, very, and then you look at the bench, Chilwell's, I don't have the bench with me right now, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then you got Rashford from the bench, Sancho from Dortmund, Trippier from Atletico Madrid. It's a team that I think they've seen the failures. They've seen the failures of the last 15 years or so, and they've gone, we could go down that path, or we could decide that, we're at the end of the day, we're all friends. People like Roy Keane has something to say about that with being friends and buddies off the pitch, but I think it's helped. It's helped. Now, Shyam, last question. This is the big one. Is it coming home? And give me the score. Give me the key, man.
Oh, this is a
you do think it's coming home?
Cop out, but I think it's going to penalties. I see 1-1 going to penalties type of game, so I'm not prepared to pick them. I do think England have a better chance. They should expect to win, but I think it's going to take penalties. There was a game in the Euro 2000 where Holland played Italy in Amsterdam, and the winner went to the final, which France eventually won. Italy had a man. I think Zambrotta got sent off. Holland missed 5 penalties in that game, including 2 during the game and 3 in the shootout. And Toldo played the game of his life. Francesco Toldo played the game of his life.
I remember this game. I remember this game.
And I feel like this game, I'm seeing that. I think Insigne becomes very important for Italy and what they're able to do. He's the guy who's got a bit of punch. He got the winner against Belgium.
Belgium. The beautiful,
I think that he's their
FIFA goal.
Attacking thrust. I've talked a lot about their centre backs, so I won't. I think that whoever England picks on the right is going to be very important. And Kyle Walker, he's got a mistake in him.
But he didn't against Denmark.
He got away with
solid against Denmark.
He's quick. He's 32 so quick. He's grease lightning.
Yeah.
I feel like Walker versus Insigne could be a big battle, because I do think that Kyle Walker, good footballer, but does make mistakes from time to time.
Perhaps that's the style of play he's always been with. He knows he can take that little pass he shouldn't be taking, because he knows he's got the recovery. Same as Shaw. But for me, I mean, I picked England to win the tournament. Then I shifted to Italy, and I was sticking with Italy. I think they're going to win 2-1 in extra time. But I think it's going to be something that it could be the springboard for a generation of England winning things and being very, very good. But I just don't think it was England's time. I think if you talk about dark arts, England have none. Italy have all the dark arts, which you look at your face, you love it.
When I grew up, man, I like in Australia, we didn't see a lot of English football. It was you get the 1 hour highlights per week. This is more as a teenager, but you'd get Serie A every week. And I loved AC Milan. I loved Baresi, Maldini, Baggio, like these types of players.
Parma in the late 90s as well.
Yeah, Parma had a lot of those guys we were talking about, Buffon.
And Crespo, Buffon, Thuram. Cannavaro played for. I remember Hernan Crespo played for them. Hernan Crespo, what a man!
They had a hell of a team, Parma. But that team was like, and they didn't achieve massive success together. But when they all got sold to other clubs, they all just did really well.
Yeah. Very much like a West Ham.
They were a bit like Leicester now, whereas they were like, where do they come from? They've done really well. They've acquired really well, and then the players kind of went off and did. Like Buffon, a legend of the game, Cannavaro got the ball. Like they all did really massive things.
I'd make more of a comparison to West Ham of the time. Rio, Joe Cole, Frank Lampard, got Michael Carrick going off and do better things. Yeah. Shyam, last question for you. Copa tomorrow. What do you think of this?
Argentina. There's been a lot of noise in the paper. Like a lot of people in Brazil want Argentina to win. Kind of like they want Messi to win. Maybe it's because he's not with the club anymore. I don't know. But it's the Neymar and Marquinhos to come out like, what the hell's going on? Why are you supporting Argentina? It would be like England playing Scotland and the English guys like, we want Scotland to win.
Andy Robertson, trophy. You know, Who do you got? Who do you got for that?
I'm gonna go on Messi. I'm gonna go on Messi.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah. Neymar's not produced for Brazil, and it's Neymar versus Messi. I mean, they've won stuff, but he's not been the man. He's not been like, you've not looked at him and gone, he's playing at that level, like a Messi or a Maradona or someone like that.
Messi's on another level in this tournament, man. He has picked it up, and did you see that video of him yelling to the guy taking a penalty, Yeremina? Yeremina missed a penalty, and he says something like, dance, puta, dance, like after he missed the penalty. Messi's on
Yeremina has this thing where he dances when he scores goals. So Messi's dance, man.
They used to be teammates.
The Argentinian goalkeeper? When it was me,
Emilio Martinez,
and he comes up and he's like, "You're going to shoot to the right, and I'm going to save it."
He saved it.
Yeah.
Anyway, brilliant, Shyam. To close out the Euros, I guess we'll do a video next week, just kind of talking about the Euros and kind of high points, low points. But great stuff. The Euros have they've been exactly what we didn't expect it to be. Absolutely amazing, given COVID and whatnot. Any closing thoughts, Shyam?
No, I think it like you said, it's. The last great tournament I can think of was the '98 World Cup. That was the last
2002 for me, but
international tournament. I thought 2002 was a bit of a. I mean, you're a bit younger than me, but 2002 was for me compared to '98 wasn't quite as good. But I think that this, like all the tournaments since then, they've threatened to be good, but this has been from game to game just a really, really good tournament.
Absolutely amazing. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are the 5-Yard Pass podcast. My name is Suddy. This is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.